The emergency coalition assembles in a reinforced bunker beneath Geneva, while Vrax ships position themselves over major cities worldwide. Dr. Elena Martinez floats through the dimly lit module of the ISS, collecting additional transmission data as Earth's military forces mobilize below. They're scanning our power grids, she reports to President Chen, her voice steady despite the fear gnawing at her stomach. Their energy signatures suggest weapons charging. The first attack comes at dawn. Moscow's defensive batteries fire futilely as emerald beams slice through clouds, vaporizing missile installations and military compounds with surgical precision. Similar strikes hit Beijing, Washington, and Delhi simultaneously, each lasting exactly 12 minutes. Curiously, civilian casualties remain minimal, the Vrax clearly demonstrating their ability to kill rather than committing to extermination. In the aftermath, Elena notices something peculiar in the Vrax communications. They're confused, she tells her team, pointing to frequency patterns on her monitor. They expected us to collapse into chaos, but global communications are still functioning. People are organizing, not panicking. Street cameras across attacked cities show civilians forming orderly evacuation lines, sharing resources, and even establishing makeshift medical centers in subway tunnels. A Vrax surveillance drone captures footage of London firefighters rescuing trapped victims while under alien fire, refusing to abandon their duty even as ships hover menacingly overhead. General Wei of China's Defense Force contacts Elena privately. These aliens follow rigid attack protocols, he observes. Each strike pattern is identical, efficient but predictable. They fight like machines, not warriors. By nightfall, resistance cells form in cities worldwide, communicating through hastily established alternative networks. In Mumbai, university students convert radio equipment to avoid Vrax detection. Japanese tech companies distribute modified phones that piggyback on alien transmission frequencies. Brazilian farmers use pre-electronic methods, colored flags and mirror flashes, to coordinate movements beneath the alien ship sensors. 3 days into the invasion, the Vrax commander broadcasts again, his multifaceted eyes narrowed with what Elena recognizes as frustration. Your continued resistance is illogical and futile. Surrender will minimize casualties. President Chen's response, broadcast from a moving location, catches the aliens off guard. Humanity does not surrender to bullies, no matter their technology. We've faced extinction-level threats throughout our history, from ice ages to plagues to our own nuclear weapons, and we've survived. You're just the newest challenge we'll overcome together. The Vrax response comes swiftly. A massive ship positions itself over the Atlantic, deploying a device that creates hurricane-force storms, targeting East Coast cities. Instead of capitulation, coastal communities implement disaster protocols developed during years of climate crisis. Evacuation efficiency surprises even human authorities. Elena intercepts another Vrax communication to their high command. Subject species demonstrates abnormal cohesion under pressure. Psychological warfare ineffective. Resistance networks forming faster than neutralization possible. Request permission for increased force deployment. The reply from the Vrax homeworld chills her. Permission granted. Commence planetary subjugation protocol. These humans must be taught their place in the cosmic hierarchy. As Elena transmits this intelligence to Earth's leadership, she notices something unusual in the data streams. The Vrax are increasing their forces, yes, but they're also beginning to adapt their tactics. They're learning. They're watching us, she realizes with sudden clarity. And they're starting to imitate our adaptability. The real battle for Earth has only just begun. Captain James Chen inspects his team's work with a critical eye. The repurposed Vrax energy cannon sits mounted on a salvaged pickup truck, its crystalline components glowing with soft blue light. 1 month into the occupation, his Singapore resistance cell has grown from 15 desperate survivors to over 200 determined fighters. The core matrix still overheats after 30 seconds, explains Lin, his chief engineer, wiping grease from her hands. But we've added the water cooling system from that old refrigerator. James nods, admiring her ingenuity. The Vraks never consider resource limitations. They design assuming unlimited materials. We design knowing every scrap matters. Their hideout, a forgotten subway maintenance tunnel, buzzes with activity. Former office workers sort salvaged alien tech alongside university students and taxi drivers. The Vraks had expected humanity to fracture along existing divides. Instead, the invasion erased old boundaries. A former gang member works alongside the police officer who once arrested him, both focused on a shared enemy. Across the planet in Lagos, Amara Okafor transmits her latest findings through the makeshift global network. Her underground sanctuary, once her family's storage cellar, houses 6 computer systems cobbled together from parts scavenged during Vraks patrol blackouts. They're changing their communication protocols again, she tells resistance leaders during their encrypted video meeting. But they're still using mathematical sequences based on prime numbers. She smiles, fingers flying across her keyboard. They're predictable even when they try not to be. A gray-haired woman in a tattered military uniform appears on Amara's screen. How long until you break the new code? General Okafor asks. Already done, Mom. Amara replies with a hint of pride. Sending the decryption algorithm now. Aboard the Vraks command ship, Supreme General Zix faces another uncomfortable meeting with the Imperial Council. The High Executor's holographic form towers over him, 6 eyes blinking in sequential patterns that signal severe disapproval. Your reports indicate humans are now utilizing our weapons against us, the High Executor states, voice modulated to perfect clarity. Explain how primitives achieve this when our technology is designed with genetic locks. Zix hesitates, knowing his answer defies conventional Vraks understanding. They improvise. Eminence. They don't activate our technology. They rebuild it using principles they observe through disassembly. The science minister's hologram flickers forward. Impossible. The gestalt understanding required would take generations to achieve. Nevertheless, Zix counters, displaying footage of a human resistance attack using modified Vraks weapons. They accomplish it in weeks. The council falls silent, a rarity that makes Zix's skin ripple with unease. The conquest of 12 civilizations established our protocols. The High Executor finally speaks. None adapted. All eventually succumbed to superior force and technological dominance. Humans operate differently, Zix explains. They function as individuals yet coordinate without centralized control. When we destroy their command centers, new leaders emerge. When we jam their communications, they create alternative methods. The military minister's hologram pulses with agitation. Then we will escalate force, deploy the atmospheric modifiers. Let them adapt to breathing poison. As the meeting concludes, Zix stares at the blue-green planet on his view screen. For the first time in his decorated career, he feels something alien to his kind. Doubt. These humans, with their chaotic thinking and resourcefulness, have accomplished more in weeks than other species managed in years of resistance. The Vraks had planned for war against a primitive species. Instead, they found themselves in a battle of innovation, a contest they're no longer certain they can win. Dr. Sophia Kim carefully places another slide under her microscope, her hand steady despite the distant rumble of Vraks ships passing overhead. The basement laboratory smells of antiseptic and sweat, illuminated by emergency generators that hum quietly in the background. 4 other scientists huddle around tables covered with equipment salvaged from Seoul's destroyed research centers. The tissue samples show almost no antibodies. She explains to her team, adjusting the focus. Their evolutionary path never required complex immune responses. Dr. Patel, a virologist from Mumbai, who'd been visiting Seoul when the invasion began, examines data streaming across his tablet. It's like they evolved in a sterile environment. Even common Earth bacteria appeared devastating to their systems. Sophia nods, remembering the violet rash that had spread across the captured Vraks soldier before he died. They're wearing those environmental suits not just for oxygen composition. They're terrified of our microbiome. The implications spread through resistance networks faster than the aliens can track. Within days, resistance cells deploy new tactics. In Brazil, fighters smear local soil on bullets, making even minor wounds potentially lethal to Vrax soldiers. Australian resistance members create simple compressed air devices that disperse harmless to humans bacterial clouds near Vrax positions. The Vrax respond by enhancing their environmental protections, but each new layer slows their troops, makes their movements more predictable. Lieutenant Krez, leading a Vrax extermination unit through the Sahara, watches in frustration as his soldiers overheat in their reinforced suits, while human fighters seem unaffected by the blistering 118-degree temperature. How do they function in these conditions? He demands from his environmental specialist. Their bodies regulate temperature internally, comes the reluctant answer. They perspire, drawing heat from their bodies through evaporation. Krez stares at the retreating human fighters disappearing into heat mirages across the dunes. His unit, technologically superior in every way, cannot pursue without risking system failures in their environmental control units. In the Vrax Command Center, General Zix reviews disturbing reports from all fronts. Arctic operations where humans fight effectively at temperatures that freeze Vrax hydraulic systems. Deep ocean missions where humans dive without equipment to depths that crush Vrax submarines. Even atmospheric conditions. Humans thrive in oxygen levels that range from the thin air of mountains to the dense atmosphere of deep valleys. They're biological anomalies, his science officer explains, displaying comparative anatomical scans. Their adaptability isn't just behavioral, it's physiological. Their bodies constantly adjust to environmental changes. Zix studies footage of human resistance fighters moving through a toxic cloud his forces deployed over Bangkok. The humans wear simple masks, their bodies otherwise exposed, yet they function effectively, ambushing his troops despite chemical irritants that should incapacitate any sensible species. We designed our weapons assuming biological vulnerabilities similar to other conquered species, his tactical officer admits. But humans endure pain that would incapacitate our kind. They continue fighting with injuries that should render them combat ineffective. Zix dismisses his staff, needing solitude to process this unwelcome revelation. The Vrax conquest strategy has always relied on overwhelming technological superiority compensating for their biological limitations. Now they face a species whose primitive technology is counterbalanced by extraordinary physical resilience. For the first time, he considers a troubling question. What if the Vrax's greatest strength, their technological advancement, came at the cost of biological adaptability that might prove more valuable in this unexpected war? Maria Torres leads her team through the underground tunnel network beneath Santiago, their footsteps echoing against ancient brick walls repurposed from colonial-era structures. Each member carries devices that would baffle conventional engineers, weapons and tools cobbled together from household appliances, children's toys, and salvage Vrax components. Their ships are scanning for energy signatures again, whispers Joaquin, the team's sensor specialist, checking a modified radio frequency detector built from an old television remote and parts from a crashed Vrax scout vessel. Maria nods, patting the strange-looking device strapped to her back. Perfect timing. The resonator is fully charged. 6 months of occupation have transformed Maria from a culinary school teacher into one of the Resistance's most effective tactical innovators. Her specialty, creating weapons that the Vrax scanners cannot identify because they defy the aliens' logical categories. They emerge into the basement of a ruined hospital, positioning themselves beneath a section where Vrax troops have established a command post. The aliens selected this location specifically for its thick concrete walls, believing them impervious to human weapons. They never considered that humans would turn the building's own structure against them. Connect the induction coils to the support columns, Maria instructs, unslinging her device, a modified microwave emitter connected to salvaged Vrax power cells. Remember, we need exact spacing. Her team attaches copper coils to 6 concrete pillars, while Maria calibrates the emitter. The device channels energy at a frequency that makes concrete resonate, not enough to damage it directly, but sufficient to disrupt the sensitive crystalline components in Vrak's communication equipment. Ready, Jolkin confirms as the last coil is secured. Maria activates the device. The concrete vibrates imperceptibly to human senses, but above them, the Vrak's equipment begins to malfunction. Within minutes, confusion spreads through the alien ranks as their communications fail. The resistance team slips away, their mission accomplished without firing a single conventional shot. In a secure research facility near Lagos University, Dr. Thomas Okoro demonstrates his latest innovation to visiting resistance leaders. The conference room table is covered with disassembled children's toys, musical keyboards, light-up bouncing balls, and simple gaming devices. The Vrak's neural network operates on frequencies remarkably similar to these toys, he explains, holding up a modified stuffed bear that plays lullabies. By adjusting the sound pattern slightly, we create interference that disrupts their targeting systems. A skeptical military officer frowns. You're saying we can jam alien weapons with children's toys? Thomas smiles, activating a modified toy keyboard. The discordant notes sound annoying to human ears, but on his monitor, the captured Vrak's targeting sensor immediately displays error messages. Their technology evolved along strictly logical pathways. Thomas explains. They never developed these frequencies for entertainment purposes, so they have no shielding against them. What seems like random noise to us creates mathematical chaos in their systems. Inside the underground research bunker, where researcher Vlen is being held, the captured Vrak scientist examines a human sketchpad with growing fascination. His interrogator, Dr. Elisa Santos, watches as the alien struggles to comprehend the concept of drawing. Your species creates images that don't exist, Vlen says, his translator rendering his clicks and whistles into measured English. You imagine possibilities without precedent. It's fundamental to how we think, Elisa explains. We call it creativity. Vlen's multifaceted eyes reflect the light strangely. My species follows logical progressions. We improve what exists. We perfect the proven path. But this, he gestures at the sketchpad. Creating without a template, inventing without precedent, we cannot comprehend it. Is that why your weapons keep failing against our countermeasures? Elisa asks. Yes, Vlen admits quietly. You do what our algorithms cannot predict, because you think in ways our minds cannot process. Lieutenant Sarah Harper kneels beside a young boy whose tear-streaked face reflects the firelight. The community's makeshift memorial wall stands before them, covered with photos, handwritten notes, and small personal items belonging to those lost in yesterday's bombardment. My dad's picture is up there, the boy whispers, pointing to a smiling man in a firefighter's uniform. Sarah takes his small hand in hers. Mine too, she says, nodding toward a faded photograph of an older man with her same determined eyes. And you know what? They're watching over us right now. The boy looks up skeptically. The aliens killed them. How can they help us now? Sarah chooses her words carefully. Because what they taught us, what they believed in, that lives in us. Your dad ran into burning buildings to save strangers. My dad taught me that community means standing together no matter what. Those lessons make us stronger than any weapon the Vraks have. Around the memorial, families share meals cooked over open fires, elderly residents tell stories to circles of children, and medical volunteers tend to the wounded with gentle hands. Despite the devastation, laughter occasionally rises above the murmur of conversations. In his command ship orbiting above, General Zix reviews the surveillance footage with growing frustration. The Vrak's Psychological Warfare Division had predicted that destroying the community center, a gathering place of obvious emotional significance, would break human morale in this sector. They held a ceremony for their dead. His psychological warfare director reports, her voice modulated to suppress the confusion Zix hears anyway. But instead of descending into despair, they appear strengthened. Explain, Six demands. Their social behaviors are intensifying. Resource sharing has increased 43% since the attack. Cooperative behaviors are up 67%. Their emotional displays, what we classified as weaknesses, appear to function as binding agents, creating stronger group cohesion under pressure. Zix dismisses his staff and retreats to his private quarters. There, hidden from his crew, he accesses the human cultural database compiled from intercepted transmissions. He plays a piece called Adagio for Strings through his neural interface, experiencing the unfamiliar sensation of music designed specifically to evoke emotion. The complex harmonies trigger responses in his brain that Vrax's society has discouraged for millennia. Empathy, longing, connection to something beyond logical progression. Zix finds himself strangely moved, a reaction his species would consider dangerous weakness. Yet these weaknesses are precisely what make humans so resilient. When the Vrax lose a commander, they replace him with an identical tactical mindset. When humans lose a leader, they honor her memory and fight harder in her name. Meanwhile, in Vancouver, Sarah helps organize the community's relocation to a more defensible position. As families gather their meager belongings, she notices the young boy from the memorial helping an elderly woman carry her medical supplies. "My dad would have helped her," he explains simply when Sarah catches his eye. Sarah nods, understanding the profound power in his statement. The Vrax see humans as isolated biological units to be conquered individually. They cannot comprehend that humans exist as interconnected webs of relationships, memories, and shared values that transcend physical destruction. That night, as she reviews defense plans with her team, Sarah realizes their greatest weapon isn't their growing arsenal of repurposed alien technology. It's their capacity to draw strength from loss, to find hope in despair, to forge deeper connections when the Vrax expect them to fragment. The aliens simply have no protocol for fighting an enemy whose emotional responses defy their logical predictions, an enemy who grows stronger precisely when they should be weakest. Dr. Ahmed Khan stands before the holographic display in the Mumbai Command Center, his face illuminated by the blue glow of tactical readouts. 18 months of reverse engineering Vrax technology has transformed the underground facility from a desperate hideout into a sophisticated war room. Engineers and scientists from 6 continents collaborate here, sharing breakthroughs through the Global Resistance Network. The reflective shield is operating at 94% efficiency, reports Dr. Lakshmi Patel, adjusting settings on her console. The Vrax energy weapons in the Delhi sector were completely neutralized. Ahmed nods, studying the data flowing across his screens. Their tactical response. Confusion, Lakshmi says with a slight smile. They kept firing even after the first ships were destroyed by their own reflected energy. Their battle protocols don't account for their weapons being turned against them. This pattern repeats across battlefronts worldwide. In the skies above Brazil, Vrax attack ships fire on human aircraft only to have their energy beams bounce back, destroying 3 attackers before they finally cease fire. Near the ruins of Cairo, ground forces deploy modified Vrax cannons that target the specific frequency of alien shield generators, something Vrax engineers believed impossible. In his private laboratory, Ond examines the crown jewel of human innovation, a transparent crystalline matrix suspended in a magnetic field. This hybrid technology combines Vrax energy principles with human theoretical physics that the aliens never explored. The quantum entanglement is stable. His assistant confirms, reviewing measurements. Energy transfer efficiency is now at 98%, better than original Vrax designs. Ond allows himself a moment of satisfaction. They built their technology following a single logical path, perfecting one approach over thousands of years. We explored thousands of different paths in months. Aboard the Vrax command ship, the tactical officer displays footage of the latest human counteroffensive. Their shields not only block our weapons but reflect the energy with precision targeting, she reports. They've improved our own technology beyond our current capabilities. General Zix watches the holographic battle simulations with a mix of professional concern and personal fascination. The humans aren't simply copying Vrak's technology, they are reimagining it, creating hybrid systems that combine alien principles with human innovation. They think differently, Zix tells his officers. We perfect through iteration. They perfect through transformation. Light years away on the Vrak's homeworld, the Imperial High Council convenes an emergency session. The resource minister's hologram pulses with agitation as he addresses the assembly. The continued occupation of Earth depletes resources that could be better utilized elsewhere, he argues. Their resistance exceeds all projections. I recommend immediate withdrawal. Murmurs spread through the council chamber. Never in their 50,000-year history of interstellar conquest has the Vrak's Imperium considered abandoning an invasion. General Zix, attending via quantum projection, speaks against the motion. Withdrawal would be premature and strategically short-sighted, he counters. Humans have demonstrated technological adaptation capabilities that exceed any species we've encountered. Rather than retreat, we should consider a diplomatic approach that would allow us to learn from them. The chamber falls silent before erupting in outrage. The High Executor's voice cuts through the chaos. You suggest learning from primitives. This approach is heresy, General. I suggest recognizing potential value. Zix responds calmly. Their creative approach to our technology demonstrates cognitive processes our species lacks. In months, they've made improvements to systems we've spent centuries perfecting. The High Executor's eyes narrow in the traditional Vrak's expression of severe disapproval. You are hereby relieved of command and recalled for psychological evaluation. Your continued exposure to humans has clearly compromised your judgment. As the council guards move to escort him from the chamber, Zix feels something unprecedented. A flicker of emotion, perhaps even satisfaction. The council's reaction only confirms his suspicion. The Vrak's greatest weakness is their inability to recognize their own limitations. Dr. Elena Martinez floats in the transmission module of the rebuilt International Space Station, her fingers dancing across holographic controls as she makes final adjustments to humanity's most audacious gambit yet. Through the viewport, Earth gleams blue and green against the darkness of space, battle scars visible even from orbit. Vast burned regions where Vrak's weapons tested the planet's resilience. Transmission array at full capacity, reports Commander Yoshida from the station's control hub. All global relays synchronized. Elena takes a deep breath, aware that the assembled world leaders are watching from screens below. This isn't a military attack, she reminds her team. It's a meeting of minds. With humanity's military position strengthened by adaptive technology, they could press their advantage. Instead, Elena proposed something revolutionary. A cultural transmission designed to bypass Vrak's military sensors and reach their civilian population directly. Initiating cultural package transmission, she announces, activating the sequence. The data stream begins, carrying treasures carefully selected from humanity's shared heritage. Ax Cello Suite No. 1 performed by Yo-Yo-Ma, mathematical formulations of quantum entanglement theories developed by Earth scientists, high-resolution scans of Van Gogh's Starry Night, poetry from Pablo Neruda, and Maya Angelou, philosophical concepts from Confucius to Sartre, and recordings of children's laughter from 6 continents. Package penetrating Vrak civilian networks, confirms the communication specialist. Surprised. Their firewalls aren't designed to recognize these data patterns as threatening. On the Vrak's homeworld, civilian information networks light up with unexpected inputs. In her studio apartment in the capital city, Phelan, a young Vrak's architectural designer, receives the transmission while working on standardized dwelling blueprints. The music reaches her first. Complex patterns unlike anything in Vrak's culture, which uses sound only for practical communication. Something shifts in Phelan's consciousness as Bach's notes flow through her neural receptors. She abandoned her assignment and, for the first time in her life, creates something without practical purpose, a swirl of colors expressing an emotion she has no name for. She uploads it to her personal network, an unprecedented act in a society where information serves only functional needs. The image spreads across Vrax civilian networks like wildfire. Other Vrax begin creating their own non-functional expressions, poetry without instruction, images without documentation purpose, sounds without communication intent. This great awakening, as their historians will later call it, spreads from the creative class to administrators and eventually to the lower ranks of the military. When protests erupt across Vrax territories, demanding contact with humans, the Imperial Council faces unprecedented civilian pressure. After heated debate, they reluctantly agree to armistice talks, appointing the rehabilitated General Zix as chief negotiator due to his extensive knowledge of human behavior. On the neutral ground of Mars' largest moon, the human and Vrax delegations establish the first formal contact that isn't through weapon fire. Elena Martinez leads the Earth delegation, supported by cultural experts and military advisors from every continent. When she first faces General Zix across the negotiation table, she notices something surprising in his multifaceted eyes. An emotional response, impossible for traditional Vrax. "You sent us beauty," he tells her quietly, "when you could have continued sending destruction." "Beauty is how we survive destruction," Elena responds. "It's how we retain our humanity through our darkest times." Zix tilts his head in the Vrax gesture of deep consideration. "Perhaps that is what my species has been missing all these millennia. The understanding that existence requires more than mere survival and expansion." Elena smiles. "That's our first point of agreement. I think we're going to find many more." Around them, human and Vrax assistants begin cautious interactions, each studying the other with growing fascination rather than fear. The path forward remains uncertain, but for the first time, both species recognize the possibility of something beyond conflict, mutual evolution. The rebuilt United Nations headquarters gleams in the afternoon sunlight, its architecture blending human design with subtle Vrax elements, a physical manifestation of the unprecedented cooperation between once bitter enemies. Ambassador Zix stands at the podium, his translucent skin catching the light, as he addresses the assembly of human and alien representatives. "5 years ago, I commanded the fleet that came to conquer your world," he begins, his translator rendering his words in multiple human languages simultaneously. "Today, I stand before you humbled by what our species have accomplished together." In the audience, Dr. Elena Martinez, now Secretary General of the newly formed Galactic Cooperative, watches with quiet pride. The treaty being signed today represents more than peace. It acknowledges both species as equals and partners in exploring the cosmos. "The Vrax Imperium has existed for 50 millennia," Zix continues. "In that time, we incorporated 12 civilizations into our empire, each time imposing our ways upon them. We believed technological superiority justified domination. We were wrong." Screens throughout the chamber display images of joint human-Vrax projects across Earth and beyond. Research facilities combining both species scientific approaches, engineering teams developing hybrid spacecraft, educational exchanges where Vrax learn human creativity while humans study Vrax precision. Humans taught us what we have forgotten, that diversity of thought creates stronger societies than uniformity ever could. That emotion and logic need not oppose each other, but can complement and enhance each other. Outside the headquarters, crowds gather in celebration. Children play with Vrax younglings, their natural curiosity overcoming species differences. Market stalls offer fusion cuisine combining Earth ingredients with Vrax culinary techniques. Artists from both worlds collaborate on massive sculptures that would have been impossible using either species methods alone. Today, we formalize not merely peace between our kinds, but a true alliance, Zix announces as human and Vrax leaders approach the treaty document. The Galactic Cooperative will stand as a testament to what can be achieved when different evolutionary paths converge in mutual respect. As signatures and genetic imprints are placed on the treaty, news travels across the stars. 7 other spacefaring civilizations, previously hesitant to contact Earth due to its association with the feared Vrax, send diplomatic inquiries within days. Most significant is the message from the aggressive Krell Dominion, whose scout ships had been observed at the edges of the solar system. Their initial assessment of Earth as a potential conquest target changes dramatically after intercepting Vrax diplomatic broadcasts. The Vrax defeated 12 species before encountering humans, notes the Krell High Commander in his report to his superiors. Yet they speak of humans not as conquered subjects, but as equals who transform their society. Caution is strongly advised. That evening, Elena and Zix stand on the headquarters rooftop garden, watching the sunset paint New York's skyline in gold and crimson. "Your species has changed mine fundamentally," Zix observes, his voice carrying the emotional inflections that would have been forbidden in traditional Vrax society. "We came seeking resources and territory. We found instead a mirror that showed us our limitations." Elena smiles. "And humans found in the Vrax a challenge that united us as never before. Perhaps that's the greatest discovery, that differences, when respected, become strengths rather than conflicts." Below them, the city pulses with life, human and alien together. Earth sleeps peacefully under a sky now filled with possibility rather than threat. Word spreads through the galaxy. Approach Earth with respect, for they transform enemies into allies through innovation, resilience, creativity, and compassion. These qualities, once dismissed by the Vrax as evolutionary weaknesses, now stand revealed as humanity's true power, and the foundation of a cosmic alliance that will reshape the stars themselves.